My name is Ed Nardi, Chair of the Natural Resources Commission, and I'm calling this public meeting to order at 7 p.m. So Delia, the one that I'm reading off of says it's a hybrid, and so I could just,
So we're just doing virtual.
yeah. Tonight's NRC meeting will be a virtual Zoom meeting. We have a microphone. Well, if you're presenting via Zoom, please turn on your audio and microphone when it's time for you to speak. Following the presentation by the petitioner and the questions from the commission, members of the public will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment. Please identify yourself with name and address for the record. You can also raise your hand from your phone by dialing *9 and use *6 to unmute. All video screens will be turned off with the exception of the commissioners, Delia, and the current petitioner. Once the commission has acted on an application, the petitioner is free to leave the meeting. In the event of any technical difficulties, all matters on the agenda that have not been heard will automatically be continued to the September 28th NRC meeting. At this time, I would ask the commissioners to introduce themselves. Gary?
Gary Kleiman.
Nick?
Nick Pappas.
And Sarah.
Sarah Grimwood.
Thank you, guys. All right. Approval of the June 1 meeting minutes. Any comments or corrections?
Yes, I had some apologies. I did this rather late, so I didn't have a chance to send it through, but I'm sure others caught this as well. 965 Elm Street. There's a couple of gaps in here where obviously Karen or Delia didn't know who was speaking, so I don't know if they're going to be filled in. There was just a line for the constructor coordinator, and then further down it said in parentheses, I'm not sure who said that or something like that. So that just needs to be cleaned up.
Right.
Thank you, Sarah. Nick, Gary, any comments?
Not for me. I mean, just that.
Okay. Nick, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I am as well. So we have a motion with those amended as Sarah noted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You can do the next one, Gary. I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 1st, 2022, as amended as discussed.
Second.
Thank you, Gary. And we'll take the vote. Gary?
Aye.
Nick?
Nah, I.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. All right. Any general comments from the commissioners? Any new business?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to the director's update. Delia?
Just two items. One, the assistant director declined the position last week. So we are not going to have somebody on board in the next month, as I had anticipated it when I reported out at the last meeting. So we will continue to work towards getting that position hired. And that was a disappointment. I believe it was a work-life balance issue. But I'm following up with the candidates to find out exactly what that was. And then the second thing is the Warner's Pond dredge restoration projects. We had the bid opening for the contract yesterday. We had one bid. It was submitted at $9 million, which is far more than what is available for the project. I think because it was a somewhat short time frame. And obviously COVID related expenses, that is possibly why that came in so high. So we will be putting that back out again next year. I'll need to go back to CPA for some additional funding this month. That's it for me.
Thank you, Delia. All right, so we have one continuance this evening, which is the notice of intent, DEP file number 137-164. Could I have a motion for that? And that's continued to the 28th, not the 21st.
Mute. Yeah, so I move we continue without discussion. Notice of intent, Concord Academy, 176 Main Street, DEP file 137-1614 to September 28th.
Second.
All right, and we'll take the vote. Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. All right, thank you. And we'll move to our first continuous of the evening, which is notice of intent, 82 Estabrook Road, DEP file 137-1609. And I guess, Rich, are you here this evening? Yep, I see you out
Yes.
there. Okay. Hey, Rich, just for future reference, if revisions are to be made to the plans, which I know you've made a couple here, it would be very helpful, I think, to the commission and to Dealey and staff if you could just do a quick cover letter, just noting those things so they don't have to kind of pick through them or try to find them, just as a simple summary of revisions.
Certainly, there was an attachment to the email that had those. It seemed
Okay.
easy to keep. Absolutely.
Thank you. So, I
No,
think
Delia,
there-
if you-
so did you want to, I assume you got the general commentary? Had three or four points. Okay,
I'm afraid I did not have a chance to reach out to Rich on these. There's
Oh,
it's
okay,
pretty.
okay. Why don't
um,
I could just jump in, just very
So
simply, Rich.
Rich, do you want to share your screen?
I had to call up the plans. But
Hmm?
I didn't have the plans called up. I thought you had them.
I
Yeah.
can open, I can do that. Which plan do you want open? The landscape plan?
Yeah, so I had a letter that changed an email because landscape plan's fine.
Okay, and Rich, I'll just note that there was just some basic commentary here. Just to confirm that the three missing flags were reset and the location was confirmed, so that's checked. The 25, 50, and 100-foot buffer zones were added to the landscape plan for general clarity, so appreciate that. I think on just a question on the mitigation area, Rich, as noted on this plan, I think that area of the 2,850 square feet approximately, so that's the mitigation area proper. So that's so is that dash line just there to just tell us that that is the 2,850, that's the mitigation, but that the additional area is also going to be included in the kind of the wet meadow conversion.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Okay. All right.
So
Just wanted to kind of understand that a little bit. And let's see. And I think on the pheno markers, I think they're there on the plans, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're the square
yes, they are.
elements, but they're just not noted as, I think on the plan, that pheno markers with the annual mow only beyond this point noted on the top. So if you could add those to the plans.
Sure, there's a plan legend in the top there. Yeah, it's just to the right underneath the locus, there's a plan legend showing the squares and the pheno marker delineation there. So if that's the area, everything behind that would be
Right.
20
but
of lawn.
What Ed is asking,
Yeah.
Rich, is to just note that those markers will be inscribed with annual mow only beyond this point, and to provide a detail of what those pheno markers look like, so that, there are standards,
Yes,
2-inch aluminum inserts, that detail, with that language. If you can put that on the plan, that would be helpful.
absolutely. We can do that.
And then I think just some additional comments. I think that the approach for the wet meadow reestablishment kind of just lays out some very simple steps, right? Stop mowing, shift the lawn edge, slice seed, etc. And I think the goal here is, at least for the mitigation area, Rich, maybe not the whole area, but that I think that should be probably overseen by a qualified botanist or someone that has a degree in that, so that is done accordingly and that has the best chance for success versus just stopping the mowing and slice seeding. So I think that
Certainly. So we this is a revised plan. We governed the note about slice seeding because we thought it might have been a concern for work in the buffer zone. With on the line today also is Jessica Alpert and Steve Simpson, they prepared this design plan. They'll be involved with the, I believe, the field work also. So I'd like to turn it over to them to talk about their overseeing the project, et cetera, to answer that question.
Okay,
Thanks, Rich. This is Steve Stimson, and Jess Alpert is also on the line, who who worked on the plan with me. We're registered landscape architects in Massachusetts, working on behalf of the owner, and our expectation is that this set of drawings would go out to a qualified contractor, and that we would be doing site inspections and observation during construction, in particular, and an annual monitoring for the first couple of years of that meadow condition. We are fortunate in our staff. We've got a firm of very talented landscape architects and botanists, and a great field person who specializes in meadow restoration, Kevin Hartzell. So he would be probably the person in our office that would do site inspection for that work in that zone. And we're interested to see what happens in that meadow when we stop mowing it, and to see what comes in. So we recognize there may be some monitoring needed.
okay, and Steve, you mentioned that, Kevin, is he on the botanist side or just the landscape architect side? Does he?
He has a fair amount of experience in ecology and meadow restoration. So he, in our office, he does all the specifications for seed in meadows, and how, and also management of meadows to manage for invasive species invasion, and to make sure, meadows take a long time to establish properly. So from scratch, there's about a 3 to 5 year period where we work with the client and the client's contractor. And Kevin, he does not have a degree in botany, but he has a degree in landscape architecture. But his specialty is that is work in the herbaceous meadow arena.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So I'm going to turn this back to Delia. You good with that in terms of the qualification, if you will, or are you looking for someone that is a botanist? What's our typical?
I think that, I mean, we'll review the resume, and, if he has demonstrated experience with meadow establishment, I think that's fine. I think
Good.
that, the outstanding concern that I have is just to stop mowing and expect that that's going to create a native meadow. It's not really how we would want to approach it. And we spoke at the last meeting, there was some concern about that approach, but it was really more that it's not an approach that the commission is familiar with, but that's, I also see that completely removed from the plan. I think what I had sort of anticipated was that there was just going to be an understanding that there was going to be that oversight. So I'd like to see that put back, the slice seeding, or some, an approach that is going to be an effective approach. And maybe Kevin Hartzell has something that he wants to propose for that. Maybe he initially proposed the slice seeding. I don't know.
We did, Delia, and I wasn't at the last hearing, but I was under the impression that a lot of questions and concern came up about that. So we backed off of that. I think that you're correct. It would be, I think, more transformational and effective to get some known native meadow species into that area through slice seeding. But we do need to do some, scarification to do that. And I think that that's something that we are curious if you'd be comfortable with, knowing that we'll have our silt fence in place and, qualified people doing that.
I think that's going to be the key, is that there's good oversight, so that it does get installed correctly.
Yeah.
I think if you can condition it that you want a narrative with a little more information on the procedure and the timing and the schedule, and would have, your opportunity to come visit during the process, then we would be happy with those conditions.
That's not something that we would condition. That would be something that we would expect you to submit as part of the application so that we can get any details, any questions worked out prior to the approval.
I think in the interest of time, the owner is, and Rich, you could maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we would rather do that at a later phase so that we can obtain approval to move ahead with the house project and work in this meadow area that's more, proactive, as we're discussing here. We could do under a separate filing rather than delay an approval tonight if we were to get an approval based
No,
on
we
this
won't.
plan.
There won't be an approval. We don't have the order of conditions prepared, Steve, this evening for this project, so it wouldn't be approved tonight.
And
But
there
we
needs
could-
to be mitigation for the work. I mean, that's what this meadow restoration is, mitigation. So that's part and parcel with the building approval.
Yeah, I think the best bet would be to, as you laid out, Steve, kind of, noting the conditions, the narrative, the timing and the process and just build that, just add that to the submission and, if you want to file, and again, we're extending the 21st to the 28th. The next hearing date will be the 28th. So the submission for that will be a week from this Friday. So you got some time to get that in and hopefully wrap it up on the 28th.
So if I'm understanding the schedule correctly, you're saying we've got more than a week to submit that narrative, and that would not delay approval of the project
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
versus agreeing not to do anything there except stop mowing, which is another valid strategy.
Not one that we're comfortable with as a
Yeah.
mitigation approach.
Okay,
And again, Steve, just for the record, I think last discussion was I don't think the commission was against the slice seating approach. I think as Dealey just said, just not that, haven't seen it before. So, and I think we all discussed maybe this would be a good prototype to try it and see how it goes. So again, just didn't want to throw that out necessarily. That's not, I think the commission left that open to the applicant to, decide.
right.
Yeah, to clarify, the slice seating could be an effective approach if it was overseen with somebody who has expertise in that. That's what we were looking for, is that to demonstrate that there would be expertise in overseeing it, but either approach.
We saw the slice seating as a pretty sort of low tech, fairly light touch, less invasive strategy. There's obviously a fair amount of competition from the existing turf that's out there. Another strategy would be to strip the turf layer off and do a straight, native meadow mix on bare soil, which would I think guarantee a quicker result. If the commission feels comfortable with that idea, I'd love your feedback tonight, because that is another strategy we talked about that might get us a more a better result in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a standard option of approach, Steve. I think that's again left to the applicant. If they want to,
Okay,
whatever way they want to choose, they can come back.
just testing the water and the temperature here for the
Oh, yeah.
commission. And if that sounds reasonable, we might
I think
be
we'd
more
receptive to
proactive. with
that,
it.
right? I mean, that's
Okay, great.
I think the only caveat with that is that if you do strip, the turf, that you make sure that you have some organics. You either amend what the, condition is, or, look and see what the soil conditions are, but
Right.
there
Will be.
needs to be a provision for that. And so we would
Fine.
expect to see that. And, if you're going to propose that, just as you were saying with the slice seating, to provide a narrative of, the step-by-step approach.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be doing soil testing and ensure that we've got the right percentage of organic.
Yep.
Okay,
Great.
great.
okay. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And then there were just a couple of minor comments. One of the native plantings was kind of European in origin. So we suggested an alternate for that. It was the Anemone sylvestris, if you will, just as a note. Let's see, I think that's the extent of the comments.
Just
that
one
I
more,
have.
just
Oh,
one more, that the landscape plan that we received, the revised plan was not dated.
Oh, yes, thank you. I
Just
missed
be
that.
sure that your revision dates are noted so that when we go to issue an approval, it's on the final approved plan, on the final plan that incorporates all the revisions.
Absolutely.
Commissioners have any other comments on this application?
Me.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any public comment regarding this application?
Not seeing any.
No, don't see any. Okay. All right. So should we, Rich, are you good to be put down for the 28th?
Yes, we are.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next application, 281 Monson Road. And that is a notice of intent, DEP file number 137-1610. And is that Adam? Are you speaking tonight? Aiden, excuse me.
Yes, that's me. I'll be presenting this.
All right. So I think we've just got to, I think there's just one primary issue here, which is the flagging.
Yes, so I can share my screen.
Great.
I can show you what's changed since last time here. So basically, from the comments, we have added the flaggings from the ORAD that was issued in 2013. This now extends the wetlands to wetland flag 17 and then down here to 18, which would then update all of the corresponding buffer zones. Initially, the shed was to be removed and proposed here, but now that puts it in the 50-foot no build zone. So instead of that, we just decided to leave the shed where it is, just completely remaining exactly where it is. But other than that, there really hasn't been much change besides just really showing where the construction entrance is.
Yep. And I do note that you provided that, the stockpiling location as well. Okay. So any other comments from the commissioners?
Got a question.
Yeah.
The shed is over a dry well that's existing and you're just tying into that dry well?
So there is an approximate dry well here. That dry well is going to be removed and is going to be replaced with a proposed dry well. We have proposed a Coltech recharger of 100 of heavy duty, so it can withstand the fact that there will be a shed on top of it.
Okay, so you're gonna have to move the shed to put in the new dry well?
Yeah, it might require partial deconstruction and reconstruction, but it's going to remain in the exact same spot as it was.
Okay, and in terms of, I guess my only question then is in terms of things like stockpiling and whether or not the movement of the shed is going to cause any problems because of where it's going to be temporarily placed.
So not at all. If anywhere, it would be temporarily placed in this little stockpiling area that we've designated, which is outside of the 50-foot.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So
Thank
Aidan,
you,
you'll
Aidan.
be getting us a revised plan on this
Yeah.
project, right?
Yeah, so
So-
you have this plan currently. I will provide a proposed plan because we do need to just show that the inspection port cannot be underneath the shed.
Okay. And you'll have that in?
We'll have that in Friday latest.
Okay, very good. All right, any other comments from the commission? Okay. Any comments from the public regarding this application?
I am not seeing any, nope.
Okay. So with that, I think we do have a special prepared for this.
Mhm.
Nick, you want to take that on? Did you get that from,
I have it ready if that's helpful.
sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't
Go
have
ahead,
that
Sarah.
one. Sorry.
Okay,
problem.
so
Oh, I do have it. I'm sorry. No, do I? Yeah, I do. I'm
meant-
sorry. I can do it.
Okay,
Okay, I move that we close and issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 1371610, 281 Monson Road. With finding A, standard conditions 1 through 20 and special conditions 21 through 53.
second,
thank you, Sarah. And we'll take the vote. Nick,
Aye.
Sarah,
aye.
Gary,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. Thank you, Aiden.
Thank you.
Good luck with the project.
Appreciate that.
All right, our next application this evening is notice of intent 147 Minot Road, DEP file 137-1613. Aiden, you up again?
That is me
All
again.
right.
Absolutely.
All right,
I can share my screen again here. So it was fairly minor comments from last time. All that was really wanted was to have the construction entrance shown, as well as the stockpiling area shown.
yep, I think that is, let's see. And also just confirming that the plants that are shown are new plantings, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and that will be another revised plan that'll be in Friday at the latest. That'll state that the proposed mitigation area is new plantings that will not be replacing existing plantings, as well as lawn debris around wetland flag 3 will be cleaned up.
Great, I was just about to mention that. Thank you for beating me
Yes.
to it. Okay. All right, Ed, all right. Any other comments from the commission? This is pretty straight away. All right.
Yep.
Any comments from the public regarding this application?
Not
Not seeing any?
seeing
No.
any.
All right, and so I think this evening we do have a special prepared for this one as well.
Want me to
Gary,
do
you
it?
want- Sure,
Sure.
that'd be great.
So I move that we close and issue order of conditions for DEP file number 137-1613, 147 Minot Road, with findings A, the standard conditions 1 through 20 and special conditions 21 through 54,
Second,
Thank
Pending
you.
receipt of revised plans.
pending receipt of revised plans.
second,
Thank you, Sarah. We'll take the vote. Nick,
Aye.
Sarah,
aye.
Gary,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. Thank you, Aiden.
Alrighty, thank you guys very much.
Good night.
Take care. Good night.
Yeah.
All right, moving to the next application, making sure the time works. Yeah. Let's see, we have notice of intent 141 Comerford Road, DEP file 137-1611. And John, I see you're here.
Hey, good evening, commissioners. How are
Yeah,
you?
Yep, good evening.
Let me share my screen. And I just want to run through very quickly where we left off. One of the questions that Alicia Gelman, the DEP area rep, had is that these existing conditions have existed since 1970 and represent about 32.5% of the total riverfront area on site being degraded. And when we go through our proposal, these were the trees that had been originally marked out for the approved plan. You can see them here. This is where the trees were. This was the approved plan with the driveway continuing off the existing driveway, coming up to a parking field at this end. At the last meeting, we were asked to propose an interim plan that kind of showed where things are right now. And what we've shown here is the proposed new garage off the end of the house, the removal of the driveway from this portion, the grading that will occur, and these are the 11 new trees that are in the path of the new driveway. And we're moving to this final configuration here with the new driveway being moved to this end. It currently sits here, which is within 30 feet of the riverfront, and we're moving it to approximately 60 feet from the riverfront. We would have tried to tuck it a little closer to the end, but there's a utility pole here that kind of gets in the way. We've moved the shed and the pad that went with the shed here over to this new location. We've cleaned up a stone wall that was back and encroaching on the 25-foot and just tucked it back in against the existing patio. You were also asked to add some of those details with a paver detail and a wetlands detail up in this upper corner. So we've kind of made those changes, and I think we got close. Delia, I appreciate your email today, and with some of the errors that we had in our numerical processing, and I turned that back over to Paul Kirshner at Stamsky to kind of read through and revise those numbers to make sure that we're on point. One of the other slight detail changes is where our pavers are being put in this area to allow access to the septic field. It looks like the paver will still be a 25% border of grass. Delia, you asked for the detail under those pavers. We're going to be going with, we're just going to remove the organic matter and go with our existing subsoil that's essentially sand compacted under those pavers. The paver dimensions will change slightly to 15.75 inch squares with a 3.9 inch, which again
So
represents.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this just all needs to be on the plan. We don't approve plans based on what is talked about at a meeting. So with that detail for the the grass pavers, just show what that sub base is. You're putting in 12 inches of compacted sand. That dimension is changing, that just
Right, okay.
just revise that.
That's fine. We are based on your comments and some of those details, but we look forward to any other comments that the commissioners might have as well.
Well, I think one of the thoughts here, John, is trying to establish an as-built plan, just the conditions that are on site today. And I think, as noted, probably the notes from Delia, is that that'll serve a couple of purposes, right? It'll tell us what's here today, our starting point. And it'll also serve the purpose of closing out the original notice of intent, right? Because you're reopening the notice of intent for a new NOI. So, and I don't think this plan does it, because this shows the new proposed garage and some of the other attributes of the proposal. So I think what we're looking for is just simply today, what's out there as built, what trees were removed, if any. I don't know, and anything else. But again, you can show us that this is what is out there today.
Okay, so we'll update this interim plan. We'll remove that garage. We'll show the trees that were removed for the approved garage. Anything else that we need to do for this particular plan?
So it should just be considered an interim as-built plan. So
Correct.
whatever is on the ground today is what should be shown on that plan. And then,
Okay,
the proposed conditions plan should just be, that's where you're, the disposition of the remaining trees, they're going to be removed, are they going to be protected? that's where your tree protection detail will go. That's where your table of, trees to be removed and replaced, all that can be shown on the proposed conditions plan. And then you have a separate mitigation plan because it's much easier to see from like this plan because it doesn't have all of that cross hatching. So this plan is just, there's still too much going on in that plan to be really clear. This is actually, I think, slightly better than the prior
Yeah,
version.
it is better. We don't have all the contours and stuff. Yeah.
Right, we removed the contours. We've just left what the proposed will look
Yep.
like with the mitigation, the temporary disturbance area, mitigation area 1, replication area, mitigation area 3, and mitigation area 4.
Okay.
So what plan is this?
This is 6554 mitigation, FF.
Okay.
The
So
current one.
that plan is good. Take off the information, and if you go over to the left-hand side of that plan.
Yep.
So, okay. Yeah, take off the grass paver detail. I mean, this should just be your mitigation plan, period. That's all that
Okay.
this plan needs to show. And then your proposed conditions plan should be everything else. So this is great to have the mitigation just in one, plan that's clear. And then the proposed conditions, take off all that mitigation information so that just the proposed conditions is shown. I think that'll really help make things more legible.
Not a problem.
You're removing the driveway too, right? Because that's not there. The driveway, the garage.
Well, the driveway will show is to be removed.
No,
On
is
this
that the existing driveway is on the right? That this plan is showing, I think, grading for a new driveway on the left, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's okay, I think, in the mitigation plan, because ultimately that's
Okay.
right, because there's the driveway, and here are all the areas of mitigation.
Okay.
Right, this plan will change because this is not really capturing the interim condition.
Right.
But yes, so this mitigation plan shows what the constructed condition or the proposed condition along with the mitigation minus the grading and minus all the trees.
Okay. I think I've got all that. Any other comments or feedback?
Just looking. I think there's I think Delia, you were looking for a cross section of the wetland replication area.
Yeah, we mentioned that at the last meeting that you need to
Yep.
provide a cross section, so that needs to include topography.
Okay. We're relatively flat through here. So I'll go ahead and talk to Paul about bridging the existing wetlands to the left here with the wetlands that exist to the right and using that with the surrounding driveway. It's essentially flat, but we'll see what we can do to meet those requirements.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna take out some material, that depth. There needs to be some dimensions of what is existing out there and what you're proposing to do.
Right.
And the construction schedule for the wetlands replacement, is that prepared by your botanist?
It's prepared. He has reviewed it. He has approved it. We had that. We can also put that detail on the plan as well.
Yeah, so it's pretty sparse. We usually see, I know it's a small area, but a lot of these fail. So we want to make sure that it's done correctly. So it would be best if you have your botanist prepare that for you.
All right. I'll go over that with him and put that in the mitigation plan under his pen.
Yeah, and that also notes that they're, looking for some, more specific kind of construction sequencing. And I think that the initial one was provided on page 52, so.
Just to be clear, Delia, when you're asking for the cross-section of the restoration, you're thinking of something similar to the driveway cross-section that shows the layers of dirt of soil or whatever is going to be there?
So this, you can see here is the cross section that has been submitted to date. There's no depth, there's no elevation, so it's, you know, we don't know what any of these,
Yeah.
you know.
But we do describe that this would be excavated to 1 foot below proposed grade. The grade would be to maintain a flow from the upper wetlands across the driveway to that lower wetlands. So our goal would be to create a nice wide area, essentially taking that driveway layer off, taking the gravel out, and bringing that down so that it's a berm-free movement of water from the left to the right. We'll add more detail to that.
Great, thank you.
All right, let's see. And John, you noted that Stamsky's going to take a look at all the calculations because there's a lot of, you know, numbers there that didn't jive.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
That's all right.
We'll take care of that.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission? All right.
Just a couple of mitigation areas 3 and 4. You mentioned that you're going to mow and then seed with a native seed mix, which isn't going to be an effective establishment of a native meadow.
Oh, yes,
So I don't think you need it for your mitigation count, so you can remove that from your numbers, or if you want to include it, you just need to propose a method that will actually establish a native meadow, including how that will be mowed, and then also put on the plan a location and detail of pheno markers around all the mitigation areas.
So a couple of points. This was existing lawn. So our approach was to scarify and strip down the existing soil and reseed with a native wetland, native meadow mix. I think that's in the detailed plan. Did that not pass muster, or is it not there?
It's not what's in your plan. It just says to your plan for the mitigation areas 3 and 4 just says that you're going to mow it and then reseed it.
Okay, it was supposed to reflect that's an omission. I'll take care of that.
Okay, and there needs to be, you know, if you're going to do a native meadow restoration, there needs to be some detail to that. You know, are you scarifying? How are you doing that? Are you removing the turf? Are you going to slice seed? Are you, you know, and how do these steps?
Yeah, okay, understood. I heard the earlier presentation. You know, we're going to scarify down and remove the existing turf. There's a lot of organic matter there, and we'll seed over that. The demarcation, and just to be clear with the need or not for the FEMA markers, there is a pretty natural demarcation along this area. It is heavily ferned with undergrowth, and then it goes into the grass area. In terms of, you know, distance from the house, I don't see this as ever being something that's going to be encroached upon beyond the edge of the driveway. Would be the end of any mow area that would be occurring.
Yeah.
So
that's where your pheno markers should go.
Okay. It's just an added expense.
They don't have to go between. They don't have to go between those 2 mitigation areas, just at the house side of things. And no, they're not expensive. They're just they're spikes with an aluminum cap that's engraved with, you know, mitigation area or you know, annual mow only beyond this point. We can come up with what would be appropriate language for your site.
Does the meadow need to be mowed at all?
It will grow up into woodland if you don't.
Would that not have been its natural state prior to anything?
It's up to you. I mean, if you don't want to mow it at all, that's, I mean.
That's an option. Okay.
It's an option. Yep.
Okay.
They don't have to.
Okay. Any other comments, commissioners? Appreciate the feedback.
Let me just go out to the public. Any public commentary on this application? I don't see any. Delia, do you see any?
I do not.
Okay. John, what do you think timing wise? Do you want to be put on for the 28th, or would you like to go to the October meeting? Just
I
based on
actually
this.
think, based on these comments, that the 28th would be pretty feasible. Paul has already started reviewing your comments, Delia. So we're adding these to it would be pretty straightforward for that date.
Okay, so you'll have to get all the work in by a week from this Friday.
The 16th, I believe, right?
It sounds right. Yep. Okay, John, we'll put you down for the 28th.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. The next application to be heard this evening is a notice of intent, 48Y Fitchburg Turnpike, DEP file 137-1612. And before we get going on this, I know we've received a couple of letters from some of the folks that are nearby. Let's just say in the neighborhood, and they've suggested a site visit, which probably makes sense, just to make sure we're looking at everything. But just wanted to get the sense of the commission this evening if they think that makes sense as well.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gary, you good with that?
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nick?
It's fine.
Okay. So the commission's good with that. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Very good, thank you. And I know that there's some commentary as well, but didn't know if you wanted to pick that up a little bit, or if you wanted to see if we could arrange a site visit and maybe, once everybody's laid eyes on it and get a better sense of it, continue to pick up that commentary at a later meeting, or if you wanted to try to arrange a site visit as well as discuss some of the points this evening.
I had sent in a note. Delia sent me back some feedback earlier today.
Yep.
I'll briefly recap because I think it's best deferred till after the commission has seen the site.
Fine.
But a follow-up to the last meeting, I had sent into the commission the Zone 2 information that I put on the screen during the hearing, along with an accompanying letter. I think the board received that. In addition to that, I provided at Delia's request some detail from from Mr. Kirby, the gentleman who did the wetlands delineation over at LEC, in terms of how he arrived at the stream banks and his stream stats analysis. I sent that in, I think the other day, I think it was yesterday. And we have also gone and surveyed at the commission's request all of the trees 6 inches DBH or greater on the site, and identified those both inside and outside of the limit of work. Delia, and I believe we submitted that information to the board, but Delia wanted us to clarify the mitigation proposal. She requested, and this did come up at the last hearing, that additional erosion control measures be shown on the plans, and that didn't make it on. And in addition, Delia had requested some clarification on the tree removal and replacement protocols, and specifically to identify those trees that were going to be removed. And because those things would require amendments to the plans, we requested the continuance. And then Delia indicated that you all would like to see me to discuss a site visit, which is certainly perfectly appropriate. If I could share my screen, Mr. Chairman, I want to show a couple of quick figures to the commission, and I guess to the public that is looking, in light of some of the comments. And then I'd like to just go on to the discussion of the site visit, because I'm really not prepared to do a full presentation tonight.
That's fine, Bill. Go ahead. Share
With
your
your-
screen, please.
Thank you. So there was, let's see, someone needs to let me share my, okay, I think I've got it. The computer is going slowly. I saw in the comments, and I recall from last week's hearing, an awful lot of concern about the heights of the proposed structures and where they were going to be located relative to the ridgeline out there. And would they sort of dominate the view over the bordering vegetated wetland out there and so forth. So while my clients were having the trees surveyed, they also surveyed out the heights of the existing trees that are going to be beyond the limit of work. And we had our engineer place these on the plans in cross sections that are to scale. So I've got 2 of them to show here. I'll file these with the commission so that they can be put up on the website and everybody can look at them. But I've got 2 cross sections to show you. The first is over here on the westerly side of the proposed project, running through this green line that I'm showing with my cursor here. That's in plan profile. And if you look at the cross section, and I want to emphasize that these have been prepared by our engineer and are to scale, including the heights of the houses and the slopes and the trees. One can see, if this is helpful, that the grades as proposed will not go above the existing ridge, and the next one shows that even more clearly, and that the heights of the structures as proposed will not dominate the ridge line and really should be barely visible, if at all, through the tree line, particularly during the summer months. A lot of these trees out here are hemlocks and pines. Are quite beautiful. And so much of that is evergreen, but during the summer, of course, there's a lot of deciduous stuff that will further block the view. I've got another cross section to show you over here to the.
Could you show
Yeah.
on the plan, could you show where those trees are? Because they're not evident.
I don't have those plans here, but the trees.
No, I mean, just on what you've got on the screen, could you indicate with the cursor roughly where the trees are?
I will. The limit of work is approximately here in this cross section.
Yeah.
And all of the trees here are beyond the limit of work. The trees really, this slope is, and you'll see it when you go out there, is very heavily vegetated. And the
So which house is this? Which house?
It's
does
the
this
one that's
represent?
cut through, I think, Delia.
correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, got it.
There you go, Dave. There's the cross sections through this section right
Yep,
here.
now I see it now.
Okay, so this slope to the gentleman who's asking the question is very heavily vegetated up to here, and our limit of work is shown here. So all of these trees that are shown here are beyond the limit of work, and they probably come a little further up the slope, but this is what the
Yeah,
engineer.
I don't know where beyond the limit of work is. Could you show on the map, or are they not on the map?
I'm doing that, sir. Limit of work is right here,
Okay,
and the trees that are shown are placed by the engineer on the plan beyond the limit of work.
so where are you pointing now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
So in
Okay.
essence, on the embankment there, is that fair to say, Bill?
That is fair to say.
Okay.
It's fair to say. You'll see when you get out there, the limit of work sort of follows there's a very definite ridge line here, and the limit of work sort of follows that ridge line and is landward of it. So
Okay, and this doesn't show north, and so which direction is White Pond from here? to
White
the-
Pond, I believe, is over up in this direction here to the northwest. North is, I believe, north is up on this view.
Okay,
I think White Pond would be somewhere off of my screen up here on the top left corner. And the other one I have is the same kind of a view, but it's a little more to the east. My computer will cooperate with us all. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, so here we have another cross section over on the easterly side. Delia, for your orientation, here's the cross section on the plan view where I'm showing
Yes,
my.
Bill, thank you.
Okay, and again, we have the trees, the limit of work, and recall during the last hearing, I tried to describe for the commission that the work is proposed essentially within a bowl on the backside of that ridge line, and you can see that much more clearly here. The ridge line actually goes up from the limit of work and then down towards the bordering vegetative wetland, with this home here, which is the last one on the east, situated back behind the ridge line and actually below it. And I thought for commissioners and for members of the public who are perhaps having a difficult time visualizing how the grades went, that it might be helpful to show those cross sections. We'll file them with the commission and you'll have them in your records. And that really, Mr. Chairman, for tonight at least, is all I'm prepared to discuss. I know the board wanted to schedule a site visit. I think that's
Yep.
perfectly appropriate. I
Yep.
served on a conservation commission. I think I did site visits on every application that I ever looked at. So I think that's perfectly appropriate and I'm happy to accommodate that.
okay, a
Okay.
suggestion on that picture, the plan, if you could show next time where the trees are and which way north is, I think that would be very helpful.
Of course, I think we can do that.
Okay.
But I believe north is up on that view, if that's helpful.
Delia, did you want to try to pin the meeting time now, or do you want to just,
Yeah, I think that would be best.
okay, let's
So the earliest it can happen is next Monday, just given
notice.
public notice. Yep.
Well, hang on, Delia, before you do that, I don't think I'm in a position to pin it because I need to coordinate Mr. Clausen. By the way, I've lost you on my screen, so I hope you can all see me. I need to coordinate Mr. Clausen and Mr. Leidner and my own schedule. So what I thought I
So
would do,
maybe what the commission, I think we need to come up with a few dates and
Yes.
then you can bring those back to your team, Bill.
I was going
But
to,
if the board wants to just come up with a couple of dates next week that work.
I was going to suggest exactly that, Delia. Either I can give you several dates at work or the commission could give me a few that work. I know that Chris
I
Clausen.
think that's probably going to be the most expedient way to approach this, Bill, is just have the board right now while we're on the call.
While
just-
we're here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
and I assume we want to do this in the morning.
Earlier the better.
Okay.
Well, remember, I'm coming from Cape Cod and Chris Clausen might be coming from Naples, Florida.
Oh, okay, that counts me out then.
Well, no.
No,
Let's pick
I'm
some
sorry,
time.
Bill, but the commission is going to need to schedule this when it works best for them.
Sarah,
And
what time works for you? Would
Okay.
9 work for you? Or is that too
Depends
late?
on the day.
Yeah. Okay.
It might well be tricky. Eight will give more options, but
Okay.
it depends on the day. I mean, I'm looking now at Wednesday, 14th, and actually that would work, 9.
It's okay.
Let's see.
Or
9.
even, I could even do
Okay.
later on that day.
Okay, 9 plus on the 14th. Nick, Gary, how
That
did
day's-
your schedule?
And that morning's fine. That morning is good for me.
That morning works for me after 8 a.m. I have a 7 to 8 a.m. call,
Okay,
but after that I could do.
okay, I can do it as well. So we've got Wednesday, the 14th at approximately, 8 to 9.
Sure.
Well,
8:30.
8:30.
Yeah, I
8:30
could,
for
I
you?
could do, I'm okay later that day, Ed. It's an unusual day.
So why don't we say 9 o'clock, Gary? That's plenty of time for you to,
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay, Nick, 9
9
o'clock's
to
good for you?
Fine.
Okay,
Do you want to just have that 9 to 12 window?
Sarah,
Yeah.
you okay with that?
I
Yes.
am actually, yeah.
Okay, 9 to 12 window, Bill, that's one option.
Yep, thank you.
Let's try to find another day as well.
The next 2
Super.
days are not going to work for me. I've got a medical procedure scheduled on the 15th, so I'll be
okay.
on vacation. The following week, well, at least for me, I don't know my client, Monday, the 19th, I'm wide open. And Wednesday, I can do it any reasonable time. Thursday, actually, that week's pretty good other than Tuesday for me. So if the commission wants to give a bunch of dates that week, sure we'll get something that'll work here.
I
Um,
cannot do Monday,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Wednesday again works for me.
Wednesday's good for you, Nick?
19th, 21st rather, yeah.
No, Wednesday's not good for me.
It's not good for me either,
How about-
sorry.
How about Thursday?
I'm okay
of
with
that week?
Tuesday. Thursday's good. Tuesday's possible.
Thursday's
22nd?
possible.
Okay, Sarah, 22nd?
Possible. Yeah, I can make that work.
Okay, morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
9 again.
You good
If
with
we could do
9?
9:30, that would be better for me on
Sure.
on the Thursday.
Everybody good with that? 9:30, 22nd?
Yeah.
Okay.
To 12, do you want to again just have a window
Hang on a
Um,
sec.
just for the rest of Bill's team?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can go that far, yeah.
I could do the window.
Yeah.
Gary, you
Okay.
okay with that?
Yeah, till 12.
Okay.
So it's the 22nd and the 14th, was it?
14th and the 22nd, approximately 9 to 12 window,
Mhm.
or 9:30 on the 22nd. I think 9:30 to 12 and
Yeah.
9 to 12 on the 14th.
And how about the
With
20?
with a preference for earlier scheduling, right?
Yeah.
Well, not Gary's pinned on the 14th, I think, until about, we're saying
Right.
9 o'clock.
No,
is the
but
start date
between,
there,
in those windows, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the commission's preference that if it's earlier is preferred on
Yes.
either of those days.
Within those
Okay.
windows, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to try for a board's meeting again on the 28th, as I understand it, right?
Yeah.
Did you want to try to see if people are available on the 23rd and just grab another date while we're all here?
I could do, I only could do 23rd in the morning, you know.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm assuming that the morning is best for everybody from what I'm hearing.
What about the commissioners?
Yeah, I'll make it work if we need to.
If we have
Gary?
to, I'd rather do Tuesday, the 13th earlier rather than, going
Friday.
Yeah.
than the Friday, but I could make it work.
Hang on a sec. So you're talking about Tuesday before the 22nd, right? The 20th, is that what you're,
I
Oh, no,
can't
I
do,
was thinking the 13th,
I
we
can't do
already
that
have a
day.
window on the 14th. I was going backward and saying, what about the 13th?
I'm
I
sorry, I
see.
can't do that day.
Oh, okay. So never mind.
how about how about Tuesday, the 20th?
I can't do that day, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Oh, that's right. That's fine. Okay, so we've got 2 windows at this point, Bill.
Yeah,
And you can do Friday, the 23rd. But Friday, the 23rd, I would need to be done by 11.
Me too. I have to be, I've got a morning slot, that's all.
Mhm.
9 to 11
Okay,
or 8 to 11 is fine with me.
okay.
Sarah, Nick, are you okay with the 23rd?
yeah, 8 to 11, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
8 to 11. Nick, you good with that?
Yes.
Okay. So you got three windows there, Bill.
Thank you very much. We'll make one work.
Okay. All right, so let me go out just quickly here. Any public comment regarding this evening? Yeah, Jeff, please.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Bill, for
Can I get, Jeff, can I have your name and address, please, for the record?
Jeff Parker, 315 Plainfield Road. Thank you, Bill, for allowing a site visit. One reason was at the last meeting I asked about were these homes going to be on the ridge, and I got the answer no, and I went and looked at the plans, and they're definitely going to be on top of the ridge, especially 1, 2, and 3. And from what I can tell, they will be in plain sight of the Rookery Overlook and many of the trails in the area, especially after the trees that you have planned to remove are removed. Now, my thing is this: there's like 2 areas in Concord that you can go get lost. One is Estabrook Woods, and one is this area. And from the Rookery Overlook, you can see half a mile down the wetlands toward 117. You can't see anything but open space.
Hey, Jeff, we're here at the NRC. So I just want to say, more focused on our purview, which is the wetlands. I understand the concerns of the view and, they are important concerns, but I'm
Yeah,
not
okay.
sure that there
Okay,
are
so-
concerns directly, if you will.
So these homes would be the first incursion into the wetlands basin, because these homes would be on the ridge. And the first thing you can see, only thing you can see from the wetlands, when you're in the wetlands at this time. And so, I mean, the effect on the wildlife and the wetlands is what it is. And that's the only thing. I was going to try and share my screen, but you probably don't have time for that. So
I think we'll get the benefit. I have seen your pictures, but I think we'll get more benefit of going to the site visit and really kind of seeing it in situ.
okay.
And
Okay,
then
one question then
we
to
can follow
Bill.
up.
How high, because right now on the plans, the top of the foundation of homes 1, 2, and 3 are higher than the ridge, like by a foot or 2. So how high above the top of the foundation are the top of these homes planned to be?
I mean, I'd have to look back, Mr. Chairman, through you. I'm happy to respond.
Yeah.
I'd have to look back at the site plans, but I'll tell you this. From the foundation, they will comply with the zoning requirements. I think it's 2.5 stories or 35 feet, and they will be compliant with that. The issue of the height, I think, has come up because the site has been excavated. And so under zoning, we requested a waiver under the PRD requirements from the height requirements, because if you apply the zoning, you have to measure from the existing average grade. And that grade has been knocked down substantially because the site has been mined. So I appreciate, I really do. I appreciate all the concerns about the height and the visual impacts, but I'll tell you, we've worked very hard to keep everything behind that ridge and below it, precisely because it's a steep slope down to the wetlands from that point forward. And we do not want to have any impact whatsoever on those wetlands. So
No.
that's the best answer I can give you, without my engineer here and without the plans on the fly. But from the top of the foundation wall, they will thereafter comply with the zoning.
Yeah,
That-
and
that's
again, I
what's-
would say, yeah, and I would suggest that that's more of a planning board purview than our purview
Well,
directly, if you will.
I of course agree, Mr. Chairman, but I'm trying to be responsive here.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that. I just don't want to
Yeah.
go down a tangent where we're not necessarily,
Sure.
have that purview. Thank you.
Okay, I
Sean.
appreciate it. Just one comment is from that home 1 and 2, the 8,000 square foot building. Someone standing in the walkout basement doorway can see someone at the Rookery Overlook and they can wave at each other. It's like 150 yards between the two. I just want to make that clear. That's it.
Thank you,
very
Jeff.
much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your comment. Are there any other public comments in regard to this?
We
Yes.
have Nick Johnson.
Hi
there.
Hi, Nick. How are you? Could name
Nick
and address
Johnson,
for the,
48 Bolton Street.
Okay.
Just wanted to revisit your purview, as you mentioned, which is the wetlands. And I had a question, because of the steep incline from household to wetlands, would there be any impact through runoff, septic, what have you, into the wetlands, which I believe is possibly a water source for our area as a watershed, if I'm not mistaken?
again, I think, and Delia, correct me, but I think if there's drainage, that's kind of engineering.
Yep, so the drainage
So
is
that-
currently under review. Septic, there, Bill, you should probably respond to this, but the drainage, none of it should be entering into the wetlands. But Bill, that's a response that you can provide.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, that one I can answer definitively.
Please.
We've designed all of the stormwater to be contained within the limit of work. Anything that is going to be coming off of the road is going to be dealt with by stormwater management systems that will be in the roadway and adjacent to that, and they will leach into the ground. Anything coming off of the roofs, the driveways, any lawn areas that exist will all be collected and directed into the drainage detention basin and then leached into the ground there. So there will be absolutely no, as designed, and took great care to this, there'll be absolutely zero runoff down that slope or into those wetlands whatsoever. We are proposing absolutely no alteration within the meaning of the State Wetlands Act or the Concord bylaw of any of those wetland resource areas. This is entirely a buffer zone case.
And just a quick follow-up question, does that include, a private citizen using fertilizer on their lawn that leaches down just through natural soil and water?
I mean, I can't really speak to fertilizer use. I suspect there'll be some conditions on that. But with regard to anything that comes off of those lawns, the answer is the same. It's not going into those wetlands. It's going into the stormwater detention basin and will be captured there. And that is going to be seeded with a natural wetlands wildlife mix. And those plants are expected to uptake much of any nutrient that goes in there.
Thank you, Bill.
I just want to thank you, thank you to the board for agreeing to a site visit, because I do believe it is important to maintain this narrative that's being presented before you, that this will have no impact on the natural environment that is under your purview. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Marshall, I think you had your hand up.
I think a site visit will be helpful.
Jim Ricker has his hand up,
Okay.
and then Evan.
I have a question and comment. One, there's a precedence in town for other gravel pit areas with housing planned development putting in there, resting on the base of the existing base of that quarry or gravel pit, and not they're just built there. And I'm not sure why there should be an exception here from what's been done in the town in the past. The other question I have is, with regard to the runoff, if it's going into storm drain collection areas, those I'm assuming have have a permeable base at the bottom of them, and that will cause leachate, which will contain nitrogen and phosphorus if fertilizers are being used, which I'm sure they will be. And that will just percolate into the groundwater eventually, just similar to the septic systems that we have on White Pond. Very carefully watch those. So I would hope there are no exceptions made here. This is the question I have is, I've heard that portion of the wetlands will be taken and filled in and then replaced with new wetland. Is that correct?
Absolutely not.
No, or is it Delia, was that ever part of the plan? No, okay, thank you.
It's buffer zone only. It's all work is outside the 50-foot no build zone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Evan?
Evan Ricker, 104 Bolton Street. Mr. Henchy, thank you for the materials provided. One request would be, could we see the cross section of the duplex building similar to the other ones that you provided? It appears from my review that those are the ones that may be the most impactful on the rookery. They appear to be the ones where there's actual building within the buffer zone in the proposal. And so I would guess they will probably be the most exposed, just from my look at the top view provided. So if we could see a cross section, what that would look like, and I think that will probably also become clear with the site visit a little bit more so as well. I'm hoping that my schedule will work out with that. That would be my request. And I think my one comment for us to think about is, we're sort of looking at this in a vacuum as a relatively small project, trying to get this to work into a small space. But this is a 280 unit development with over 40 acres that I'm struggling. My challenge is, why are we dealing with going into the buffer zones at all when we had all that room to work with for all of these 280 units? Why are we cutting it so close when we have this natural resource? And the street name is the very asset that we're trying to protect here with the rookery. I'm really struggling with that. Why we're trying to sort of shoehorn this in when we had all that space and 280 units, and a change to 1 or 2 out of 280 is, it's very different impact than 1 or 2 out of 6 that we're talking about here tonight. So that's my comment and my request. Thank you, Mr. Henchy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like.
Yes.
I should point out, I really do. I appreciate these comments, but I've got to point out that in terms of so-called shoehorning, the land area use that we're proposing here substantially exceeds the minimum requirements in the zoning, even for a PRD in this location. Most of the property will be set aside as open space, and the part of the upland that we're using is less than the maximum that we could under the zoning. So I respectfully disagree with the idea that we're shoehorning anything here. We're exceeding what the zoning bylaw requires us to provide. As far as the other cross sections, I'm happy to talk to my client about that. And if the commission thinks it would be useful, we'll certainly take that under consideration. I do agree with you that the duplex is the portion of the proposed development that impacts the buffer zone the most. I agree with that. I think that's a fair statement, but I stick by everything I said earlier, which is that these things are not going to be sitting perched on top of the ridge or dominating the ridge or dominating the wetland below. And in fact, in our judgment, there will be zero alteration of those wetlands whatsoever.
Thanks,
I know
Bill.
that may not be popular position tonight, but that is our position, and I believe it to be correct.
Okay, well, we can certainly learn more on the site visit. Thank you. Marshall.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, can I interrupt for a sec? On the subject of the site visit, I understood we were having a site visit by the commission. I'm not anticipating a public hearing out there or.
No public hearing, but the public is invited to attend, but there'll be no discussion.
Well, I'm not sure I want the public to be invited to attend, quite frankly. I mean, it is a construction site. Perhaps I can revisit that after you've heard some public comment. My intention is not to exclude anybody, but my client isn't here, and I don't think I can agree to that on their behalf. I'm certainly.
Yeah, what's the history of the site visit? We publish that as a site visit.
We published it as a site visit. It is the applicant's discretion whether or not to allow the public to join, but there can be no discussion by the commission, and we will take minutes of the meeting.
Yeah, you can't deliver.
So Bill, when you get back to us with hopefully one of those dates that fit within those 3 windows, you'll certainly let Delia know what the applicant's position is on the public as
Certainly.
well. So we
Certainly.
can address that in the notice as well.
Certainly. Thank you.
Okay. Marshall,
Oh.
finally.
Marshall Lee, 350 Plainfield Road. I'm almost directly across. I just need, most of the comments were made that I had. I just was wondering if we could get, you had a nice sketch there that showed where you have the limit of work and where the tree lines are. If you could show everything and then show roads that are nearby. I live on Plainfield Road. That's, there are certain things there. And also where White Pond is, because I have trouble, I know about where this location is, but I have trouble locating where the houses are and how they touch other areas of Concord that are already there.
It's already posted, isn't it, those plans?
Those plans have not been submitted. So
Oh,
Bill
okay.
will expect that we get those tomorrow so that they can be posted to the website.
Great.
Right, but I, Mr. Chairman, I think something that might be useful, we've certainly taken note of the public comments. We can perhaps prepare a chalk or a markup of the assessors map or something like that that shows the addresses of all of the folks who've submitted comment. That might be helpful.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay.
And Bill, will you be staking out the limit of work and the corners of the proposed buildings for the site visit?
My understanding, Delia, is the limit of work has been staked because they had to identify that to survey the trees within the limit of work. So my understanding, the limit of work is already staked out, but I haven't been there since they did that work, so I'll double check. And as to the building corners, sure, that's customary. I'll make sure that gets done for you.
Great, thank you.
I'm sure the surveyor will be very pleased with me to be running out there again, but let's wait.
Very well.
In the buffer zone, so we'll be able to see where the limit of the 100-foot is. And if it,
I don't know whether that is staked or not. I'll inquire for you. I'll
Yeah,
inquire. I think it would be very helpful for you guys to see that. So I'm gonna try to make that happen.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Gary.
Yeah.
Just one other thing, I'm sure this will happen before the meeting, site visit, but looking at what I saw, it may not be easy to get or clear. I don't know what the state of construction is, but getting from Route 117 back to the back of the lot, is that going to be easy? Is that going to be marked?
Yeah, you've got, I'll talk to my client about how to deal with that. So the entrance road is open. They're actually leasing the apartments out now. And you can drive all the way up past the
You
limit.
don't have to go over it now. I just want to make sure that before the meeting, we know how to get there. That's all.
Well, you raised something that was rattling around in my mind when the suggestion was made the public occur there. You've really got to bushwhack across some very coarse sand for maybe 100 yards or so to get up to the top of that ridge. And then if you want to go down, you're all welcome to do it, but you're going down a very steep vegetated slope. So it's not the easiest site visit in the world to do, but I'll talk to Mr. Clausen. We'll sort that out.
My only concern is finding it from the road. That's all.
Okay, we'll get you directions that way. That you go in and take a left and go as far as you can go, and you're close. That's the
That'd be
best.
great, Bill.
If I don't show up, I'll be close. That's okay.
All right.
Maybe what we should do is make arrangements to meet near the entranceway somewhere, and then we can take it back up. That's probably the thing to do. We'll work that out.
Okay, thank you, Bill. It doesn't look like we have any other public comments. So with that, oh,
There's still a hand up.
Nick. Is your?
I was just in agreement, looking forward to you guys going to the site and checking it out. Yep.
It was a thumbs up. Okay, very good. And Bill, I assume you want to continue out to the 28th?
Please.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, we'll see you at the site visit once that's settled on. Delia, I think your mic was off.
All right, yeah, just for scheduling purposes, submittals will be due by the 16th for the 28th.
Thank you.
By the 16th, hang on, Delia, just let me just, forgive me, let me just look at my calendar. Okay, so that's a week from Friday. Are Okay, it would be helpful to us if there's additional stuff that the board would like to see, that if we could get some indication of that, say by the 19th or the 20th, because all the engineers and surveyors are extremely busy at the moment, and it's tough to turn this stuff around all the time.
Well, if the site visit is on the 22nd or 23rd, I don't know if that will affect the plans. Just
Probably.
depends if anything comes out of that. Hopefully
Yeah,
not.
I understand. All right.
We'll
In any
proceed
event,
with the-
further submissions by the 16th, Delia, we'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does the board vote to continue these hearings, or do you guys just
We
continue?
do not vote to continue the hearings.
Okay, all right. So I'll consider myself continued to the 28th. Thank you all very
Please
much.
do. Okay, thank you, Bill.
Okay. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
All right. With that, we'll move on to the next new application this evening. Notice of intent, 1643 Monument Street, DEP file 137-1608. And who do we have this evening that'll be discussing this?
Good evening, commissioners. This is Ben Trafton. I'm the applicant and owner of the property at
Good evening,
16. So good to see you all this evening. Sorry it's taken so long to get here. We're excited to propose this project to you. We've obviously been in Concord now for about 5.5 years. We have 2 daughters and a COVID dog, and we're trying to make our backyard usable. If you remember from the proposal, notice of intent that we delivered, I think a year ago, a good portion of our house is actually in the 50-foot no disturb zone. The project that we're proposing is basically kind of better drainage, regrading of the backyard to be able to make it usable. As you've seen in the diagrams, we've been working closely with David Fisher, who's going to walk through the plans that we proposed and the details around that. So David, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This has been a long road for us, so we're glad to be here. Can I share the screen?
Sure.
All right. Let me back out of that one and try that again.
So, and I apologize, Dave and Ben, I did not have a chance to provide you. I had some comments. They're pretty minor. I think we can work through those by the next meeting. But I apologize, I did not get those over to you earlier this week.
Okay, well, we'll let's see. I apologize. That's not the. I had this all perfectly set up.
I can pull it up, Dave, if you just give me one
Well,
second.
I added some plans so that,
So it would be best if you worked off the plans.
yeah, they're just, I just threw color on them.
Okay, oh, that's great. That's helpful.
Because it makes it easier to.
Yep.
So same plans, just colorized.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and
I don't have those, so we'll wait for you to find them.
As the one you sent me, Dave, if that's easier for me to pull up.
yeah, that's the one I'm trying to add it all. I apologize for this one. There. Okay, now. Okay, I apologize for that one. So
Any luck, Dave?
Um,
Or Ben, if you have it and want to pull it up and Dave could speak to it.
yeah, do you have what I sent you, Ben?
I do. Yep, I can share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay, can you go, yeah, to the first one, Ben? So, Ben, if you can scroll up, this is the existing condition plan. And it shows the house at the bottom of the lot, Monument Street, down to the very bottom. The backyard is right behind the house. There's a ditch that cuts the site in half. And then the wetland is to the west, which is up on this plan. And you can see that there is the 25-foot no disturb zone, the 50-foot no build zone, 100-foot buffer zone. And if you can go to the second one, this shows, just so you can see, the house is at the bottom. There's a 50-foot no structure zone, 25-foot no disturb zone. As Ben said, the house itself, a little bit of it falls into the 50-foot no structure zone. Almost all of it falls into the 100-foot buffer zone. And then as we go towards the west again, you can see the wetland line just at the end of the 25-foot no disturb zone. There's a ditch, there's an existing wooden crossing, and then there's a significant wet meadow area. And then again, there's the 25-foot no disturb zone, 50-foot, and then the 100. The Trapton's property does a funny little dog leg. You can see there's a stone wall up at the back, and they do have access to a high and dry piece of land to the furthest west of their property. The photograph in the upper right-hand corner was taken from the deck of the house, and you can see the red arrows that show sort of the expanse of that photograph. And then, Ben, if you can go to the next one. These are photographs, and again, all of them taken from the deck on the back of the house. Photo 1 is looking southwest. The fence is roughly the property line with the neighbors. There are 2 red maples and a silver maple right along the ditch. And photo 2 shows the wooden crossing, and then out in the distance, the existing grape arbor. There's a maple tree on the other side of the ditch, and then the silver maple to the right-hand side of this picture. Then photo 3 shows similar information, but with the existing play structure. And then photos 4, 5, and 6 are just a little bit more detail. This photograph, or these photographs, show very clearly the issues that the Traftons have. Every time I've gone out to visit them and we meet in the backyard, Ben and Stephanie always wear boots, and I go out with sneakers and I get wet. Water flows from the north through the ditch to the south, goes down beyond the property, eventually crosses underneath Monument Street, and eventually drains into the Concord River. Where the play structure is, that is the most significant area of water flow. The neighbor's house, they have a driveway that comes off of Monument Street and drains with no controls through their side yard and then right into the drainage structure and saturates the Trapton's backyard. So Ben, if we can go to the next one. this is the site preparation plan. We have changed the focus of our project since we originally applied in June, I believe it was. We are no longer doing any work, or we're not requesting to do any work to the west of the ditch, with the exception of replacing the existing wooden bridge that they have with one that's a foot wider and a foot longer, just so they can get across safely. So the work that we were proposing up in the western extremes, we're not proposing that anymore. So we're proposing erosion control, the straw wattles, tree protection fencing, the welded wire mesh with steel stakes to protect the maples and as you march across the property. I just threw on a red line to show the 25, 50, and 100-foot buffer zones for your information. And Ben, if you can go to the next one. This is the submitted plan. And then Ben, if you can go to the next one. Well, actually, let's go to the next one. It has a little bit of color that I hope makes it a little bit easier to read. The light green circles are existing trees to remain along the ditch and then out in the back field. Three major hopes for this project. One is to provide access from the driveway. Right now, there is a trench drain at the bottom of the driveway and then a slope, a fairly steep slope that goes down to the lawn area. There are no stairs, there are no steps. And I believe it was Stephanie's mom that broke her arm slipping and sliding down that slope. So what we'd like to do is at the house level, put in some pavers right at the corner of the garage and driveway that lead over to the left to an existing stairway and then connect to that. We would remove the pieris that's there and replace that with deutzia and blue wave hydrangea. And this existing stone wall that is at the base of the walkway, we would like to keep it exactly where it is, but raise it by 2 feet. So we're building on top of the existing wall. We're not encroaching any further into the backyard. And then where that pathway from the driveway meets the existing stairway, we would like to propose steppers with 6 inches of grass that run from the bottom of that landing over to a basement room that they just had renovated. And it's a path to provide a safe and dry access from one room to you can also get to the deck from that. We would like to relocate the play structure from where it was, which is close to the what's labeled a 32-inch maple, over to the left-hand side or the south side of the property. It's a little bit higher there and a little bit drier for the kids. The area that's highlighted in green, the field around the back of the house, is lawn. Today, that is all manicured lawn. It was installed in 2006, I believe it was, when the house was completed. And over time, you could see on the pictures where the lawn area has subsided and pockets and pools of water. So what we would like to do is to regrade that lawn and sheet drain it from the base of the house out to where the contour 94 and 93 are. There would be a slight slope, and then that would lead to the existing ditch. We will not be changing any environmental or ecological facets of this backyard. It's a maintained lawn. We will create another maintained lawn. There are 3 drainage additions that we're proposing. If we start at the deck, right in the middle of the house, there's an existing drain for the stone wall, and it daylights right at the base of that wall. We would like to drop that into a trench drain or an underground drain that is a perforated pipe. And it goes out, I think it's 18 feet, and infiltrates the water from the roof drainage that's coming down out through that stone wall. Similar over on the other side of where the additional wall will go, the same thing to get the water away from the house. And then at the base of the driveway, there's an existing trench drain that we want to keep. We want to remove all of there's stone, 3/4 inch stone exposed at the surface. We just want to clean that out, make a connection, and run it to a dry well. And that dry well with a catch basin grate will catch the water from the neighbors and get it into that drain. And then if and when it overflows, that water will drain out to the ditch. The grading that we're proposing, the 93 and the 94, will create just enough of a swale to keep that water from getting up onto, for lack of a better word, a plateau for a lawn that comes off from the house, and direct it into the ditch. So all of the water that is reaching the ditch today will continue to reach that ditch. As part of this, we'd like to create a rain garden, which is over on the southern side. And this area we will excavate down a little bit, bring in some new soil with organics. We've got amelanchier, winterberry, witch hazel, dogwood, clethra, blueberry, and some river birch. That will make a very good connection with the water flow that's going to go across the lawn, and then also water that will accumulate in between the 93 contour and the top of the ditch will make its way down to that area. And that rain garden's approximately 200 square feet. And that, I think, is what we're trying to do. Yeah, and there's some details, and then there's some sections on the last sheet. So we've sort of contracted the project from what it originally was. And the main goal is to get people from the driveway to the backyard safely, capture the drainage from the neighbor's yard on the north, and create a safer, more level, usable lawn area for their kids.
Okay, thank you, David. And Delia, you said you have not passed these on, these comments. Okay, so
Sorry,
we
no.
can- no problem. So we can just jump in on this. So David, if we go to the stone wall, I think you've got a stone wall. I think you noted that you wanted
Yes.
to add something to that stone wall, but you're also extending that stone wall somewhat in that regrading plan, correct?
Yes, the stone wall today comes from the stairs.
Yeah.
And then it moves to the north and makes one curve. And we want to add just about where the 95 contour is to add 2 feet and then bring that along at that level. So
Yep.
where it hits the driveway.
Yep.
It's level, yes.
Yeah, no, understand that. So again, anything that even though you're adding that small piece to the existing stone wall, then bringing it back behind the 50, you have to add that to the computation of mitigation in the 50,
Okay.
which is a 10-to-1 mitigation.
Okay, but it's outside of the 50. The wall where it comes off the driveway and turns to the right, makes a 90-degree turn.
Yep.
And where it connects is at the 50.
So you're saying the existing stone wall goes to the 50?
Yes, yeah, it actually
Okay.
goes a little bit farther than the 50.
Okay.
And I was hoping to convince you that since the wall that exists today, the footing is there, the wall is there, we're not disturbing or adding anything, we're just bringing it up a little bit higher. That
Okay.
way.
Could you just scroll back just quickly to an existing condition plan, just very quickly? Yeah.
No, you
could
went
just,
by it, and you could.
yeah, you went by it. You could just, yep, why, this one right here.
There, yeah, this is the, okay, this shows that it doesn't quite reach that.
Yeah, so again, just looking at this plan, looks like that wall dies into that slope. So that it does look, at least from this plan, that you're tagging a little bit of stone wall into the 50. It's not much, but it's got to be calculated if the commission is okay with that.
Okay.
You'll have to compute that square footage and again, mitigate that. And I think the same holds true for the dry well. That is in the 50.
Okay, so would that be the actual dry well structure? Or does that include the pipe?
I would think it, I don't know, Delia, how do you want to call that?
That it's a that's a tough one. I mean, it's usually the policy reads that it's above, on, or below. So it probably should include the piping as well, as well as the pavers that are in the 50. And then whatever's outside the 50, Dave, is just a 1-to-1. So we had talked at some point about, a good potential for mitigation would be that removal of that euonymus. There's a massive euonymus in the back behind the, So if you can just calculate what the, 10-to-1 square footage is, capture what, those features are, pavers, stone wall, piping, and then 1-to-1 for anything else that's outside, which it isn't really
Not much.
Right.
A little bit there, yeah.
And then just kind of get a sense of, an area of what that euonymus size is, so that you can, those numbers can just be, reconciled and confirmed, right?
So we discussed the removal of the euonymus as possible mitigation after we had taken it out from proposed mitigation, because the draftings were thinking if they cut down that or took out the euonymus, that it would open their views, because it's 10 or 12 feet tall, or very dense material. The problem is we don't know how to get to it. We, part of the original plan, which was to put a path in the back area, would have given a path to get out to that area. The town does own adjacent land. Is there any way that we could get through that to get to this? Because,
Why wouldn't you just go, in the back over the bridge? If
well,
you're
I don't know
doing
if you can get that to remove the euonymus, you'd have to pull the roots. Because cutting it, it'll just come back. And so the way I would like to do it.
We wouldn't want you just to cut it. It has to be
Yes,
definitely either
exactly.
taken out by the roots or cut down.
Yeah, and they're a very large established field of euonymus. And
I think Delia, just a comment here. I mean, I know you've been back there. I mean, we would need some sort of bobcat or some sort of, digging equipment to be able to get back there. And there's no real way to get there across the current structures, and obviously driving through the wetlands to do that. So.
I mean, I think if you're doing it in the dry, right now, it's pretty, there's no problem. And if you had, you could just put some, construction planking down to get across the ditch. I don't think you would need swamp mats for, a little bobcat to go through. If it's done,
Yeah,
this time of year, you know, outside of the wet season, I think it'd be fine.
well, I had someone doing some tree work on my property and they used something below the level of a bobcat, which is a dingo, a Toro dingo.
Yeah.
And that would be totally adequate to do it. You wouldn't need a bigger bobcat.
Okay, we can certainly look into that.
Okay. Good.
Are you volunteering to bring the dingo out and do the work?
I wish I owned one.
So then, you know, capturing what that area is, noting it on the plan that this is, you know, that you want it to be removed, and then putting in native plantings in that place. And are you looking, Dave, you mentioned that there's a concern about opening up the view. Is that a desired outcome or not?
No, they would like, it would work beneficially for
Okay.
the NRC and for the Traptons.
Okay, so, you know, some lower shrub plantings that aren't going to get to be 15 feet high.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So, and Dave, as part of the submission, we'll need a 25-foot notice, a waiver for working in the 25-foot notice disturbed zone as well.
Yes, I think
for
I
all those
submitted that.
activities. Yeah.
So we have, there are 4 criteria. You have to meet 3 of the 4, and it's on our website. So let me know if you have trouble finding that, but you just have to respond that you've avoided and minimized, and that you're mitigating, and that there's an overall net benefit to the resource area from the proposed work in the 25. Okay.
Okay. And then I think as far as we understand the footbridge is in essence a replacement in kind, but we should have a detail on that dimensionally in the detail. So it's on the plans, expectations are there. So, you know, once the project's done and it's built and it's in accordance with the plan, it's all good.
Okay, so if you can get that information to us by next Friday, I know that you're anxious to sort of get moving on this. We can plan to have an order of conditions prepared for the meeting on the 28th. You'd have to come and present the changes. If there's any changes that need to be made to your submitted plans by next Friday, I'll let you know in advance so you have time to change them. So that we can get you to an approval at the 9/28 meeting.
Okay, great.
And let me just, before we finish, I just want to go out to the public.
Could I ask something, please?
Oh, yes,
Ed?
please, Sarah.
Yeah, so I know the play structure is being moved out of the 25 to the 50, which is great. I didn't catch where in the 50, and I wondered, does that need to go on the plans? I know it's not a permanent structure.
It is on the plans.
Oh, I couldn't catch
It's
it.
next to the rain garden.
Yeah, if you can just
off
point
the
that
little
out to
deck
Sarah.
to the left.
Right there.
Oh, that's it. Okay, thank you very much. Great.
And
okay.
actually, thanks for prompting that locations there, though. The only other comment I had, it looked like some of the rain garden, unless I'm missing the property line, is planted off property.
That was my
Seems
question.
odd to me, if you will.
Yes. When you look at the photographs, there was a fence along that property line. That fence is X number of feet over onto the neighbor's property. And I will put words in Ben's mouth. He has spoken to the neighbors and they are okay with planting in that area. So it would seem.
Do you think we should get a letter? I would think a
Just have
letter
them
from the
submit
neighbor
something that
allowing
says
that
it.
would be
Yeah.
appropriate, just so there's no kerfluffle in the
Protect the
future.
homeowner.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
both
fine.
homeowners.
Yeah, we've talked to them and shared these plans with them, and they're encouraging this, obviously, because it creates, boundaries between the houses anyway. So absolutely.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, and then lastly, let me just go out for public comment.
May I ask another quick question? This is a little bit of a strange question, but I've been looking at Google Earth, or maps, satellite, just trying to get a sense of where this is and everything. And it looks like it's almost white walls. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or are they beds out there?
Oh, the walls?
So it's
So there is an existing.
it's quite far back.
Yeah, so there's a stone wall where our property ends and our neighbor on the
that's what it is.
other
Okay.
side, and it's an apple orchard, and there's also another kind of perpendicular stone wall.
Yes.
And then there's a raised structure. It's like a solar thing or something. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Okay, I see them all. Thank
along-
you. I was just curious.
But those walls are all on other people's properties.
Okay, got it. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Sarah. And I assume there is no public comment at this point. Okay, very good. So
Not
we'll
seeing any.
continue out to the 28th. Plans will be doing on the 16th.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate
Good
it.
night.
Good night.
All right, moving on, minor modification. Delia.
So this is, let me just pull this up. It's very straightforward. The homeowner has an existing approval to do some additions onto their home at 51 Coolidge. And they have the existing driveway is here and here. And they would like to change the outline of the driveway to something along these lines. It is a reduction in the impervious overall site wide, but there is a 29 square foot increase in the outer buffer zone. The applicant is fine to do one additional shrub plantings as part of the mitigation. So I don't see any issues with this.
Looks good.
I like the cars on the plan. That's fun.
Okay. All right, so I think we need a motion on this and a quick vote.
I make a motion to approve the minor modification requested for 51 Coolidge Road, DP file 1371571.
Second.
Thank you, Gary. And the vote, Nick,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. All right, COCs, we have 2 of them, I believe.
We do have 2. The Laurel Street will come off. They've got some dead vegetation and mounding. So we're going to work with the homeowner to get that straightened away before that comes back to you for sign off.
All right.
The second one, Peraza McQueen at 63 White Avenue. The work was never completed. That's a property on White Pond that's been in foreclosure for some time. There's some movement that's happening with it. Staff has reviewed that and no work was done. So that's all set to issue.
Okay, thank you. Do we need a vote on the COC?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, okay.
Even though, but no work was done?
you still have to issue the certificate. That
Close
still
it
has to be
out.
recorded to lift the lien of the title. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So does that require a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I move that we close and issue a COC for 63 White Avenue, DEP file 137670.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. And the vote, Nick,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well.
Go one question on that certificate we just issued. When somebody like an abutter comes back to find out what's happened, how are they going to discover that nothing happened?
So when you submit a request for COC, you have a choice of how you respond to that. And so it's that it is work was completed to the, in compliance with the approved plans. If it's a partial, it was partially done and work was never completed. So that's one of the 3, I think it's just the 3
Okay.
questions.
Okay,
that
so
you
we
can-
have a
yeah.
record of it. Anyone would be able to find that. That's all. That was my only question.
Good question. Thank you, Nick. Okay, and then other business, we got 3 administrative approvals.
We do. 2 are for tree removal, 1 including one that we are going to be doing some invasives removal, mostly buckthorn, a couple of large Norway maples at Haywood Meadow on the Walden Street side, the fire station side. And the third one is for just extending natural gas service. I'm going to share that plan with you briefly. Let's see here. So this is 26 Lawsbrook Road. The homeowner is looking to have just a short distance of gas service put in. It's not going into the existing driveway, so it's not exempt. It is 88 feet from the pond. Standard, natural gas installation, trenching. They'll be done in a couple of days. Don't see any issues with this. And that's it for those.
Everybody good with those?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Delia.
Thank you.
All right, and I think with that, we are adjourned for the evening.
Thanks,
Ed.
Thank
everyone.
you all.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.